Hello, hello. We're going to be doing a live stream in just a second. Just make sure we got the audio recording on both ends. We're going to invite a guest on here in just a second. It's going to be really cool. So let me just get the recording going for us. Let's invite Stephy Fung on. Good morning. They're live. This is a very special podcast episode, actually. So I'm going to try to record a podcast episode live. We're going to be interviewing Stephy Fung. We'll jump into the call in just a second, and I'll introduce you to Steph, and you're going to learn. I guess as we're just waiting here, Steph is a 3D motion designer, and they are self-taught in Cinema 4D and the Adobe Suite, and they work a lot in Houdini, and sometimes in Marvelous Designer. They work in Unity, they work in Spark AR. So they have a lot of experience over the last 4 years on a lot of these really cool 3D programs. And so I really am I'm really a big fan of the work that Steph is doing. And I wanted to kind of take some time to interview Steph on this live stream. And then we are going to record the audio. So I have the audio recording right now so that we can have this for a podcast episode as well. Interviews that are kind of raw and unedited, and I just want to experiment with what that's like. So, it says it's a bit laggy. Oh, good to know. Let me switch it. Invite Steph again. Is it any better now, or is it worse? Testing 1, 2, and 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Oh no, I'm data moshing. That's really bad. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Oh no. Okay, it says it's better. Okay, thank you, Imaginary Lobo. Hopefully it's going to improve the quality. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, sometimes I just switch to different internet connections. So we switched to a different one now. Hopefully that will be a little bit better.
Hello.
Oh wow. Hello, Steph. How are you doing?
Hey, much better. It was slightly a bit laggy, but now I can hear you now.
Amazing. Yes, I had to switch my internet connection. But welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm good. It's about 6 p.m. in the UK right now. What about you? What time is it over there?
It's about 10 a.m. in the US right now.
Super early. Just getting your day started.
Yeah, just woke up, getting ready to go. Steph, I wanted to first just say thank you so much for joining into this conversation today. And welcome to the Rethink Reality podcast. I've been looking into you and researching you for the last week. And so based off of your Twitch page, here's the intro that I have. I have Steph is a 3D motion designer, and they are self-taught in Cinema 4D and the Adobe Suite. And it looks like that you sometimes use Houdini, Marvelous Designer, Unity, and Spark AR. You say you're not an expert, yet your work is fantastic. And you've been at it for about 4 years. So just want to start off and say, is that who Steph is?
Yes, that sounds about right. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Sure thing. So I have a bunch of questions that I kind of set up, and I think it would be really cool to hear your feedback on.
Yeah.
So I guess let's just jump right in. First question I have for you is, what does it mean to be a 3D motion designer in 2021?
Big question right at the start. That one,
Oh,
I don't know, motion designing or 3D motion design has evolved so much over the past few years. I've been doing it for 4 years now. This will be my fourth year. And what I find is the most exciting is that 3D motion design can be used onto different platforms now. Now there's like exciting ventures into AR and VR, which I know you're really into as well, which I find really exciting. I've also kind of touched upon digital fashion and utilized my motion design skills for that. So that's a new thing also coming through. But there's also traditional 3D motion designs using it for brands and advertising, which is what it's usually used for.
amazing. With regards to your marvelous designer work, for those that might be new to that, what is marvelous designer? If you wanted to maybe chat a moment about that.
Yeah, sure. So Marvelous Designer is a 3D program specifically for making garments or cloth simulations, and it's more catered towards 3D artists or 3D motion designers. So there is a sister program called Clo 3D, and that is for fashion designers who want to export their digital fashion into real world production. That's Clo 3D. But I use Marvelous Designer because I don't really have an intention of making my clothes real yet. I quite like keeping it in the digital realm.
Amazing. Yeah, and it's so cool. I really like, in particular, there's a piece that you have. It's you have a green garment and this really beautiful, intricate gold pattern on it. It looks so awesome. Did you mostly design the gold? Was that in Substance Painter, or how did you get the textures onto that piece?
Yeah, a lot of Photoshop work. I haven't touched
Wow.
Substance Painter yet, but it's exporting the UVs and then just I illustrate my own patterns in Illustrator, import that into Photoshop, and then import that into Cinema 4D. So it's a whole one big process.
Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, from looking at your work, I assumed that it was in Substance Painter, but that's even doper that you did that in Photoshop and that you actually you sculpted those designs in Illustrator.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
That's so cool. That's awesome. All right, so I got another question for you in the interview questions list.
Yeah.
All right. So I was looking at your work online and I found out that you have a really cool community and it's called 3D Wizards. So I wanted to ask you, what is 3D Wizards and why did you start this community?
3D Wizards is a Discord community, and it's a place where anyone can join. You could be advanced, you could be beginner. So if you guys are interested in 3D and you want to learn or want to meet, network with people, this is the place to be because I created it because a lot of people keep asking me, how do you learn 3D? How do you get into 3D? And that's the reason why I created it in lockdown about last year. Was it last year? Yeah, 2020. It's been a few months.
Wow.
And I just needed a way to connect with people because with lockdown, there was hardly any socializing. Everyone was at home. Everyone was a bit lonely. So I think it was just a way for me to connect, to reach out to other people and also help other people reach out and connect with other like-minded creatives. So that's why I created it.
Yeah, it looks really, really helpful for 3D artists at all levels. And I was looking through and are you considered a warlock or a wizard? Which ones were you?
Oh, good question. I actually need to check.
Oh,
Because we've made it like this kind of wizard theme, which I find really, really fun. Let me
yeah,
just find
it's
out.
awesome.
So we've given members roles in this Discord community. So for example, if you're into Cinema 4D, you're a mage. If you're
Okay,
into
cool.
Blender, you're an alchemist. If you're into Maya, you're an enchanter. If you're into real time or interactive stuff, you're a warlock. So I would be mostly a mage because I work mostly in Cinema 4D.
That's so cool. God, I love you had like little emojis of different kind of wizarding powers next to each of the names. And
Yes.
God, it just looks like so much fun. And yeah, I really appreciate the detail that you put into this community. It looks like there's a lot of passion behind it.
Yes, absolutely. Everyone is really friendly, and even the moderators, we call them the Grand Magus Council. So it's all fun. It's not meant to be serious. Anybody can come through, and yeah, there's like no pressure to be like a superstar in 3D at all.
That's so cool. Amazing. All right, so got some more questions for you, of course. One thing I was going to ask, so I know that you're definitely a 3D generalist. You have a lot of different tools that you use and jump in and out of. You just mentioned Illustrator, Photoshop, Cinema 4D. So this one's kind of a weird question. What kinds of things do you YouTube search to learn 3D? Like very specific, like what do you YouTube search to like learn 3D? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is exactly how I learned. 4 years ago, I stem from being a graphic designer actually. So I was learning After Effects, I was learning 2D motion design, and it wasn't until I saw a YouTube video from Grayscale Gorilla, from iDesign, from Digital Me, and I saw what they were doing in 3D, and I thought, oh, how do I do that? And thankfully, they were the ones who were handing out tutorials on YouTube. So that is exactly how I started. I think the way I start to learn things is exactly the same right now, like same as 4 years ago. If I don't know how to do something, I jump straight onto YouTube because I feel like there's a tutorial for everything, usually, usually. And usually it's for example, how do I texture in Redshift? Or how do I create a glass material? You know, something simple like that. Or even just if you want to learn a new program, it's usually how do I do this? How do I do that? And you would usually find a really helpful resource on YouTube.
Thank you so much for the details. Yeah, that sounds like a fantastic way to learn. I can totally agree that that's how I learned as well. That's why I was seeing your story and looking through your stuff, and I was like, oh my God, we have such similar backgrounds, technologically speaking, and even just like how we learn. I was like, oh my God, I need to talk to Steph. This is so cool.
Another thing is that
oh yeah,
I had nobody else to ask, you know, at the time, especially 4 years ago.
wow.
So the internet was the only way I could learn myself.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah, 'cause like, did you go to school for animation or motion design?
No, I studied graphic design actually. So I think when I was a kid, I watched a lot of animation. I watched a lot of Disney, Ghibli, Pixar. I loved it. So I think that's why I found static graphic design a bit boring. I wanted to always do something a bit more. And yeah, no, I had no background in animation at all. I just kind of picked it up through all these YouTube, like hundreds of YouTube videos.
Hundreds. If you had to guess how many hours of YouTube videos you've consumed
Yeah.
in your lifetime, in the last 4 years, how many hours do you think how many months do you think you've consumed?
God, I'm literally on YouTube every single day. I'm not even going to lie. I wouldn't be surprised if I spent already half a year, each year spending like 6 months, just like looking up YouTube videos.
I'm with you on that. Yeah, that sounds about right. That's cool. We have a question that someone left in the comments, and
Yeah.
this is from someone named user_Mohideen. They said, how can I join the community? And I think that was in response to the 3D Wizards. How can they join 3D Wizards?
Yeah, so if you guys want to join 3D Wizards, just click the link in my bio. I've got a link tree. You're searching for 3D Wizards community Discord, and you can just click the link there.
Amazing. For those of you also that are just joining in, if you have questions for us, for Steph, or for myself, please leave a question. We will get to them as we go through these the other questions I have for the interview. Okay.
I've also noticed something. We've also got like similar lighting going on. Kind of pink lighting coming through.
I'm a big fan of the vaporwave aesthetic, personally speaking. So I see the cyan that's behind you, and I see the pink that's filling in your lighting, and I'm just like, I'm a big fan of that look. It's just, yeah. Do you listen to you? Oh wait, I jumped into your Twitch. You do listen to lo-fi as well, right?
Yes, It is the anthem of my Twitch. If you come to my Twitch stream, I'm always playing lo-fi.
That's so cool. I was wondering, just personal question on about lo-fi and streaming. How do you get around or avoid the copyright flags? Because I try to play lo-fi in my own streams, and then it's like, hey, you don't own the song, and we're gonna cancel your whole audio. What do you do for that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's this guy, of course, I found him on YouTube. I'm always on YouTube. There's this guy called Harris Heller, and he's created these, what do you call them? Non-copyright songs called stream beats. So he's made a hip hop playlist, he's made a synth playlist, he's made a lo-fi playlist, and it's all free. You can use it in your YouTube videos, you can use it in your streams. So yeah, that's what I use so that
Oh my goodness.
I guarantee that I don't get banned for the DMCA license.
Oh my God, Steph, that is such a life hack. Wait, what's their name one more time?
Harris Heller.
Harris Heller. Okay.
Hmm.
Got
And
it. I will look up Harris Heller
you can
and
find,
avoid the copyright
yeah,
problems.
you can find a playlist on Spotify and on YouTube. So it's up to you.
So cool. Okay. Amazing. I got some more questions. Again, for those that are just joining, please leave your questions in the there's like a question box at the bottom of the stream. You can ask questions there. We'll see them and then we can go through them. Okay, so I have another question for you, Steph.
Yeah,
To say, how important is it to learn new tools as a motion designer today?
super important. What I've learned, what I've learned in 3D is that the more that you know, the better, especially if you want to be a 3D generalist like myself. I suppose if you're a 3D artist who specializes in explosions, then you probably don't need to. But for those who want to become a 3D generalist, the more knowledge that you know, especially that can be combined to your craft, so things like photography, things like videography and film, cinematic stuff, or even just different programs, like you could be learning Houdini for simulations or Marvelous Designer for garment making. You can combine all of these tools and programs, and that will only be a benefit to you. And I would also say in 3D, the learning never stops. There's always a new feature, there's always a new update. So if you stop learning, then you're only going to hinder your creativity.
Bingo. And so maybe some folks here might not be familiar with the term 3D generalist. Could you explain in some details what that means?
Yeah, absolutely. So I decided to be a 3D generalist, which is basically a jack of all trades. I do a lot of different projects. It enables me to deal with different projects. So I could be working on a brand project with like a macro shot of a phone. Imagine I could be working on that. I could be working on a title sequence, for example, a 3D title sequence. So it just really allows me to work in different areas of the industry, which I find really exciting. I don't want to just stick to just doing one thing.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Because there's also a lot of terminology in our space, and sometimes like I might use a word like real time, and then and that might make sense to some people, but then a number of folks who would like to get into 3D might hear that and be like, what is real time? So I might kind of stop you a couple times if there's a word that I think might be helpful for people to hear some details on.
Yeah, no worries, because I think sometimes we live in our own tech bubble, being being a 3D artist, because we tend to deal with all these programs and working with our computers, and like we tend to know a lot of tech stuff. So feel free to ask me and break down any terms.
Yeah, I have a couple near the end. I definitely want to talk about GPUs and rendering, because I use those terms just like that's my language. But then same idea, it's like that could be like a barrier for folks. So more of a personal question, personal/work question. What motivates you?
Oh my God, yes. What does motivate me? Why do I do 3D? I enjoy it, I guess. Is the question what motivates me to do projects each day, or why do I do 3D? Like, what is the motivation?
Ooh. Yeah, I like the I guess to be more specific, I'll say like what motivates you to do 3D?
Okay, yeah. So what motivates me to do 3D, I guess, is what I mentioned at the beginning is I am a big fan of animation. I've watched it since as I was a kid growing up, and that really fills my heart with joy because I really enjoy the storytelling process. And I think there's something that animation can capture that static things cannot. So that's why I do 3D.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I guess a follow-up question to that is, um, like, who do you look up to, or do you look up to anybody?
Yes, absolutely. My design Instagram, which is the current one I'm on, is filled with lots of 3D artists and photographers and videographers. So I just follow people that actually inspire me. I would definitely say mm, there is a specific artist that I do look up to, and I've actually worked with her once on a DigiGirl project. So DigiGirl is another community I'm part of. Her name is Alexa Cerbu. She works in cinema 4D and Houdini, and her skills
Hmm.
are insane, like
Yeah.
really amazing. Like I aspire to be of that quality one day in my life.
Could you type her name in the comments so that folks
Yeah.
here could like see who this awesome designer and creator is?
So Alexa Cerbu, she actually recently opened a studio with Lucas. Oh God, I can't remember his surname, but they're both very well known in 3D industry. Their stuff is very fun, very photorealistic, but always very fun, and
Hmm.
that's why I really enjoy looking at their work. It just brings me so much joy.
Gosh, I'm definitely gonna want to look up Alexis Serbu because like if we have such similar tastes and interests, like if you're saying this is someone you look up to, I want to know who that is because that's so cool. All right. So another thing I noticed recently in your work is I've seen a shift, a really cool shift into crypto art. And I wanted to just ask you, how do you feel about motion design as it relates to crypto art?
I think it's a great way of digital artists selling their work and getting more exposure for their work. I think it's a different way of digital artists to get revenue and not to rely on client projects all the time, which was always kind of the sole way of getting revenue as a digital artist. So now we've got this new way of like expressing ourselves, finding a new community, which is the crypto community, who are lovely. And also yeah, it's also just a new way, which if you guys haven't heard of crypto art, you should definitely check it out.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah, I've been kind of talking a lot about crypto art lately, so it's always cool to see other designers and creatives getting into the space. And personally, I like having more than just the same kind of folks appear in that space. Like I noticed that there's not too many women like as I would like there to be in the space of crypto. And so it's like it's important I think for more people to see the faces of 3D designers as like not just a kind of monochromatic view of what a motion designer looks like in your head. And so yeah, it's cool.
Unfortunately, that's just the bias of 3D motion designers currently. I feel like the percentage of female to male is greater because of who has been teaching 3D and who has also the privilege to learn 3D. So I think that will change within the next few years because of Gen Z and also with Blender being free, programs like that.
Hmm.
That is also something I'm quite passionate about, just promoting and teaching as many people, people who are from less privileged backgrounds, or yeah, that's what I would like to push more in the future, and I definitely think that will change as well within the crypto community.
100%. I was going to ask, what are your preferred pronouns?
I'm a her, she.
Okay, I was going to say, with like, uh, do you ever see resistance as a woman into the 3D motion design world? Is there any time that you get pushed back from old systems and older ways of thinking?
Um, Not particularly, but not. I haven't personally experienced any, but I feel like probably what I've seen in studios and in industry for women who do have, for example, they have a baby. They're usually step down from the role and they usually don't pursue their senior role anymore. So that's what I've seen more in industry, and I'm hoping that will change, especially since more people are working from home, which means more people are able to, of course, look after their kids and look after, and also work. I do kick-ass work at the same time. So I think there are definitely still some old school mindsets out there, but I haven't really, thankfully, experienced like any of that myself.
That's awesome. And that's a great example. I didn't even think about that. You're right. If people are working from home, that older narrative kind of struggles to survive because it's like, well, we're already working from home. So what's the problem? Promote me. You can promote me even if I have a baby like that I'm carrying. So
yeah,
that's cool. Thank you for that. Yeah. I was just curious.
Yeah, no worries.
So this one's just a fun question. It's a versus question. So overnight rendering versus real-time rendering, how do you feel about these?
As in which one I prefer to do?
Yeah, I guess. I'm not sure. I didn't really have a good way of asking that question. When you think of overnight rendering and then you compare it to real-time rendering, what goes through Steph's mind?
I do both, really. I think ideally we want to be in a world, we want to live in a world where real-time rendering is as efficient as possible so that we do not waste time and we do not waste energy doing overnight rendering. So I currently do overnight rendering because I've only got one PC. I'm a one-man band. So at times I might need to just render overnight. But I would prefer real-time rendering, 100%.
Okay, gotcha. Are you using Redshift or Octane, or what's your overnight render?
I use Redshift. I started learning Arnold, but Redshift is my baby.
Redshift's so nice. What's your do you like using the post effects in Redshift?
100%, 100%. I think in Arnold they only just added a feature like Bloom or something like that, which is what Octane and Redshift has. So yeah, the post effects
so they just added
they're
they
great.
just added that recently.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, at least they're listening a little bit, and they're like, okay, artists want to have post effects, so we'll give them Bloom.
And it's great because you don't need to jump into Photoshop and do the comping process. If specifically if you're working on a project and you really like you're rushed for time, you need to send that image to a client, and you need to also make sure that it looks, high quality. Like post effects is a great way.
Yeah, it's so fun. You just turn it on and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, it looks like it's better lit. I have better contrast ratios and I get this nice fog and fall off in the background. And all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I worked very hard on all those effects.
Yeah,
Don't think about it. Amazing. So another technical question is how is your 3080 versus your past GPUs?
This one's interesting one because I actually talked about this on my stream last night on Twitch. I haven't actually seen much difference. And I used to have a 1070 and I upgraded to a 3080, which I waited 3 months for it to come through because of COVID. There was a big delay. And I'm not quite sure if that is to do with how I plugged it in, if it's bottlenecking. I don't know if if there's something wrong with my computer that is limiting my GPU, because
oh my goodness,
yeah, I'm a bit disappointed because surely if my previous card was 2 generations ago, I should have seen a big difference to make me go, wow, this is really worth the money. But I haven't really seen it so far, but I can't blame the GPU yet because I don't know what the issue is.
Amazing. Also, I'm super surprised. I was not expecting that. So that's good feedback for the 3D community to know that from another expert like yourself. We have 2 questions that appeared in the comments here. Oh, yeah. We got 4 questions. Or no, 3 questions. Sorry, I'm having troubles counting. Uzair Mohudin asks, I'm really pumped up to learn animation and stuff. What you guys do? How should I start off? That's the first question. You have any ideas on how they should start off?
Depends which type of animation you're going for. Animation, is it 2D, 3D? Which, depends what he's...
Yeah, I guess we have more questions. I agree with Steph. It does depend on your interest. Oh, here's another question. It says, how can I start off in 3D designing, and does it charge money to join the 3D Wizards community?
Absolutely not. No, it's free. It's free. I don't expect, of course, I don't expect for anyone to pay to join a community. So, what was the beginning of the question? Can you remind me, please?
Sure. It says, I'm really pumped for learning animation and stuff. What do you guys do? How should I start off?
Okay, so for animation, as in, I assume he's talking about 3D animation.
I'm
So I
assuming
would
that as well.
say, if you want to get good at animation, you actually should learn 2D basics. Your 2D knowledge will translate into 3D really well. And so things like even just studying the bouncing ball, which is the typical one that everyone learns, and translating that, like if you learn that basic knowledge, then your animation skills will be a lot better in terms of your 3D skills. And also when it comes to 2D translating to 3D, we still use keyframes. It's pretty much the same kind of workflow.
Yeah, and the same, to second that as well. Like a lot of it's kind of starting with what is free and what is available. Because sometimes there's a myth that you need some really expensive program before you can start doing 3D animation, and that's just not true anymore. Blender is an amazing tool. It's free, and you can do everything 3D animation with it. And so, but if you want to do 2D design, there's some free apps. There's an app on my computer. I just downloaded this. It's called, and it's free. It's, let me just make sure I got the name of it. It's a 2D animation tool that you can download on a desktop. It's called Pencil 2D. It's called Pencil 2D. It's very much a very basic tool, but it has keyframes. It has the ability to animate. You can change the timing. You can loop certain areas. And I was surprised to see that it's a free desktop application, and it's a friendlier UI than most tools.
I also recommend just starting with basic shapes. You don't want to overcomplicate anything. Just start with a sphere or a cube and work with those until you get comfortable.
Amazing. And if you have any more questions, please. Oh, we do have another question. We got a question from Pug Matt Convento 15 says, do you think we are going to see 4D, guys?
What is 4D? I can't even imagine that.
It's kind of, what it reminds me of, like a 4-dimensional cube. Have you seen a hypercube?
I don't think so.
It looks like a cube that is folding on itself and becoming another cube.
Oh, okay.
It's called a hypercube, and it's supposed to be it's a 4th-dimensional object. When us humans stare at it, it's bizarre because we can only see the 3 dimensions of it. Yeah. But it's representing a 4th-dimensional space, so it just looks kind of like an optical illusion to us.
Oh my God, that's mind-blowing. I mean, we're already at 3D. I won't be surprised if 4D will definitely be the next thing.
I'll show you it. Here's a hypercube. It's a funny, I think you'll appreciate this. It's a bizarre shape. All right, let me flip the camera here. That's a regular cube. Let me see if I can skip to a hypercube. Oh, they're doing the math to make the hypercube. Okay, I just want to show you a hypercube. Hopefully we can find this. Let me do a GIF. Hypercube GIF. This thing. Have you seen this object before?
No.
Let me see if I can find it. That's it. This is a hypercube, and it's a 4th-dimensional object.
That is insane. Wow.
And it's something that's, so it's a pretty bizarre shape. So I guess technically, to answer Pugmat Convento's question, we have now all seen the 4th dimension. We got another question from Jamie. Says, how do you tackle, quote, writer's block when working on original art? Ooh, that's a good one.
I get this question all the time. What I can really recommend is actually just stepping away from anything creative, whether that's for an evening or week or if it needs to be a month, you know, it depends on you, on your situation. If you need that break, take it. Don't do anything creative. For me, it's exercise. That really helps me to reset my brain. Or if it's not exercise, I just watch a film like where I could just not think about the problem that is irritating me, that I can't figure something out. So that's what I would do.
Amazing. That's great advice. And maybe a lesson I could learn from too. I struggle usually to take breaks. So that's kind of a good reminder. If I'm reaching a block in my mind, it's good to take a break, exercise, move your body around, and then you can like reset your creative flow to
Yeah,
some
and
degree.
for some people, it's even just taking a walk around the block, you know, or just going on a trip, you know, going outside. Don't just look at your computer all the time. That can really help.
Amazing. Hopefully that answered your question, Jamie. Oh, another question popped up here from Pugmat Convento 15 says, do you think sketching is a good thing or a bad thing?
It's always a good thing. You know
Yeah, I
why?
agree.
Because we are visual people. I find it very hard personally when somebody explains an idea to me and they explain it in words, and I'm like, can you draw it? Like, even if it's gonna be a scribble, I'm gonna understand that way better than you explaining it through words, because sometimes words can be translated or interpreted differently. So, sketching an idea, um, you don't have to be the best drawer. Really does help.
Yeah, that kind of just reminds me of like sometimes I'll have a client that says we want it to be high quality. And I used to just take that term and go with it. I now ask them, can you show me an example of what's considered high quality? And can you show me an example of what's considered bad quality? And it's so funny to learn that every time quality is so subjective. Like what I thought was quality, you know, if I compare it to like the stuff we did at DreamWorks, like that's a certain level of quality, but that might not be appropriate for a client who wants like something to work in real time. And their standard of quality was like a Sims character or like Nintendo 64, you know, low polygon, like that's quality. So yeah, just asking that question can also help kind of refine the feedback you might get as an artist.
Definitely.
Oh, we got another question from Claudia. Says, what's your favorite experience working as a 3D artist?
Ooh, my favorite experience. Does that mean project-wise or? Mm, mm,
I'm going to assume so. I think the context, because I know Claudia had, usually engages with a lot of like artist-based questions and interactions with this community. So I'm wondering if the question pertains to your experience, any experience that you've had as a 3D artist, project-wise. You know,
yeah,
what was your favorite one or
yeah.
two?
Oh God, there's so many. I guess in terms of experience for me, working with different people and different clients, for on my freelance gigs that I do on the side, that for me is really fun because I get to work with different people, different projects, and I also, for me, I really enjoy building relationships with people. I really enjoy talking to people, so that is also really fun for me. I guess another experience is also it's relating to meeting people, I guess. So one of my favorite projects that I worked on, where I met really like cool people on a project was this DigiGirl project. So I mentioned before, DigiGirl is another community I'm part of. It's a community specifically for 3D artists who are non-binary, LGBTQ, female, community. So we did a collective project for Selfridges in London. It's a retail store, and we got to visualize walking garments and put it in a 3D environment, which I at the time did not know how to make 3D garments. I just helped to build the environment. But that was also where I met Alexa Cerbu, who is one of the people 3D artists that I look up to. So just like meeting the DigiGirls as a team, and then also meeting the person that I really admire her work, and also creating an awesome project that was like everything just worked together really well. It all went smooth sailing. It was a really fun project as well.
That sounds super fulfilling when like all the things kind of mesh together. Like the project is interesting and engaging to your heart, and then the people are awesome to work with, and then the connections that you make. So that sounds fantastic. So
Yeah,
could you type in the name of that community in case anyone here wants to screenshot that and then see that community as well?
absolutely. So the name is DigiGirl. And yeah, I agree. It's what I've found after graduating and working with people. It's very, very important who you work with, because
Yeah.
you can work with people and they're absolute twats, and it's just not going to be a good time. So if you work with people who's got, the same goal, that you got banter, you're having fun together, that's like the best time like you could have when working with other people.
It probably makes your work that much better when you work with people like that.
Absolutely, yes.
Because then you're like, I mean, because then you don't have any reservations with putting in your all into that work. Because now it's like, I want to be here. I like working with them. Here's my best work I could possibly give, because it feels good on the inside.
And that's probably why I enjoyed that project so much.
That's so cool. Oh, we got another question that popped up in the comments here from Pugmat Convento 15. Says, "Hi Steph, do you forget to save your files sometimes?"
It's become a habit now. I press Control S like every 5 minutes
Oh my
because,
goodness, I
yeah,
struggle to save. That's cool.
it's become a habit because of all the times that I haven't done it. And, when you lose your progress, and it's just the worst thing when you have to redo something that you just did 30 minutes ago. And
Hmm.
even After Effects has autosave. I put my Cinema 4D on autosave. I think on Marvelous Designer, you can do the same thing. So if you've got autosave on a program, use it.
Okay, I'll do it. I forget to do autosave. I've lost hours of work. Like I might work on something for like 3 hours, rigging, weight painting, and then it crashes. And then I just look at the screen and I smile. I'm like, I deserve this. I deserve losing this. I didn't save anything. So that's a good reminder for folks here, especially if you're an 3D artist. You got to save, do auto saves. We got another question that came up. Let's see. Oops. It's weird. It's not letting me click it. Well, then while that, oh, there it goes. Oh, Pugmac Convento 15 asks, how about naming files? So are you pretty good at naming your files?
I'm so anal about naming files. I'm very good at it in a good way. Like if you guys come through on my stream, you will see me name the file, the layer, the folder. I name everything to a T. I usually put the date backwards so that when you look on it on your file folder explorer, it will be all in order. And then I put the title, then I put version 001, version 002. I'm very organized. And I actually learned that from an animation studio. Prior to that animation studio, I did not do any of that. But after I saw their workflow and I saw how easy it made for everyone to pick up the files, I was like, that's
Mm.
probably a good thing to implement. So yeah,
Wow. So when you name your file, you said you started off with the date in the
yeah.
name,
Hmm.
and then you give it the name of the file, and then you do a version.
Yeah.
That's pretty smart. That's pretty cool. I've been doing it with a random name, and then I get punished for it later, because then it's like, yeah, you're not gonna be able to find that exact thing. That's really good advice. These are for those that are in the comments, great questions, by the way. These are really helpful. If you have questions, this is the space. I think both of us are pretty down to help support the 3D communities that we're trying to grow. So this is a very safe space for questions, and it's a safe space in general for artists. Cool. So I have another question for you as well, Steph.
Yeah.
And I think you might have already answered it, but I'll just ask it again. What advice would you give an artist interested in 3D but hasn't started yet?
Yes, I get this question all the time as well. It's almost like the fear of starting. Like you want to do something, but you're kind of scared to start because you don't know where to start. It might be a bit overwhelming. So what I suggest for people who are interested in 3D and don't know where to start, I recommend giving yourself baby goals. Like make it goals that are attainable. So if that's, a tutorial a week, um, I think that's pretty doable for most of you guys. If you guys are really high achievers, make it 2, make it 3 a week, you know. And also make it so that you are holding yourself accountable. So whether you're actually writing to a community, hey guys, I'm doing a tutorial a week. Can you guys check my work, give me feedback? And so that will give you a reason to do it. And also, you know, people will also give you constructive criticism so that you can always improve as well. So I think for people who are starting out, they're kind of scared to share their work because they're scared that all these 3D superstars are going to be like, your work's rubbish, you need to fix this and fix that. But you need to be able to take criticism and able to move forward. And I think when you do get constructive criticism, you need to always take it with a pinch of salt because everybody's opinion is very subjective.
That is some solid advice. You know, just to echo what I'm hearing is it's about making obtainable goals and holding yourself accountable. And if you might struggle to do that, finding a community that can help hold you accountable to those baby goals that you set to get you into that space.
Exactly. Yes.
Amazing. We got another question. It says from Made by KP. It says, hey, I'm an architecture student who wants to improve my 3D motion visuals. Which program/software is best and also free? LOL, LOL.
The funny thing is, I've seen a lot of people do like architecture and interior design on 3ds Max, but I think the best free program hands down has to be Blender. As much as I love Cinema 4D, it has to be Blender because Blender is free. Yeah, that is the main reason. You can do pretty much a lot of the features on Blender can do a lot of things that other 3D programs can do, except that it's free, which is, you know, that's amazing. It's amazing. You don't have to pay for it.
So since you started about 4 years ago with Cinema 4D, would you say that Blender was ready for prime time 4 years ago?
No, I never heard of Blender 4 years ago. And actually, I tried Blender 2 years ago. And the interface was very confusing. It wasn't as nice as they've done it now. I think Blender has really stepped up their game in their Blender 2.8 update, which was about maybe a year ago, I think, roughly. So, you know, I did try Blender. I did try, but it was just so hard to navigate in comparison to Cinema 4D. Cinema 4D's UI is just like a dream because it's layer based. It's like it's
streamlined.
Yeah, it's like After Effects. It's very clear. So, but no, Blender has stepped up their game recently, which is why I feel personally that Blender will become industry standard in a few years, if not months. They're getting a lot of investment and funding. So yeah, definitely look out for Blender.
100%. Because I'm thinking, like, how can the Mayas, Cinema 4Ds, Houdinis, 3ds Max, how can they compete when a free tool is able to cover 95% of what they can do for thousands of dollars?
Exactly.
And it's like, that was their whole business model. Was it used to be very hard to make a 3D program, so they were able to charge, you know, absurd prices for it. And now Blender's like, oh, we're gonna catch up. And when we do, you're gonna be sorry.
I'm just waiting for Blender to implement the MoGraph. Like, that's what Cinema 4D is great for, MoGraph, right? For motion design. So once Blender implements that, it's like game over.
Oh my God. Yeah. If that happens, I'm gonna be all in. Speaking of which, I didn't include this in our initial questions, but Unreal Engine. Do you use Unreal Engine? Is that something that you're learning or you do use from time to time?
So I have learned Unreal Engine twice. Attempts to learn Unreal Engine. So the first time was about 2 years ago. And I followed this 40-hour tutorial. I made this forest and a cabin, and it was great. And then after that, I did not touch it again. So then at the beginning of this year, one of my goals is to get better at, first of all, Houdini, because I know the basics of Houdini. But I'm also interested in Unreal because, of the updates, their recent updates are really very, very interesting. Yeah.
What are some of those updates that you're excited about from Unreal?
I guess, the real-time aspect is very, very powerful. And also how, if you learn 3D, once you learn one program, your skill set is actually is transferable onto different 3D programs. So I know 3D from Cinema 4D, but I can utilize those skills that I've learned and move it into Unreal Engine. So that's why I'm thinking of like combining it, using it as a combination program. And well, my interest lies in interactive stuff anyways. And I once did a VR project in Unity, but I feel like the UI in Unreal, if I compare Unity to Unreal, the UI in Unreal is just a lot easier to understand.
It's true. I feel kind of bad for Unity, like because like they can technically do very similar things, but I don't feel the same about Unity as I feel about Unreal, where I'm just like, yes, Unreal gets me. But Unity's like, we can get you too. You just have to, deal with all of our little quirks, but you can. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, Unity, we're through. I'm moving on. I'm with a better entity now.
Exactly.
With regards to I guess another question I came up. Oh, sorry, we got two more questions that have popped up in the bottom here. It says from Pugmac Convento says, Don, I'm not trying to put you in the spotlight, by the way, or art side. Oh, I don't know if that's a question, but thank you for the question. Pugmac Convento 15 also says international date. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
It was a question. International date?
International dates for what?
Well, okay. I'm going to read questions in the comments here then. Sorry, Pug, we didn't catch those questions. Another question that I do see here from Joey Digger Jr. is, Blender is a replica of the simulation that is life. Oh, just a matter of fact. That's pretty cool. I can see that being a thing. VLK Nif says, apart from Houdini, something's next level. Blender, I'm thinking. Huh. If you have questions, please let us know. These are great statements. Definitely looking for some questions here. Okay. Hey, Stephy Tan says, not a technical question. As an artist, should you be bothered, or what mindset should you have if you seem to have a piece similar to someone else's?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, for example, I think that what they're asking is you put out a piece and somebody says, "Hey, that looks like somebody else's work," for
Oh,
example. I think
yes.
that's what they're saying. Um,
Yes.
what you can do, I mean, if you know in your heart and like for sure, 100% that you did not copy anyone else, then say it. Like, there's nothing wrong with defending yourself if you have not done anything wrong. The difficult thing is with 3D designers and the programs that we use, we are all limited by the features that it has. So sometimes things may look similar or ideas may look similar because we're all inspired by each other, or we're all just limited by this amount of features that is in the program. So I would say, if somebody is saying that you're copying somebody else and you're not, then say that you're not. It's your right. And also, but on the other hand, if you are inspired by someone and you are taking inspiration from a certain artist, then credit them. Like, it's free. It does not cost you anything to credit anyone, if you have taken inspiration from somebody else.
I think that was some solid advice, Steph. So thank you for sharing that. And I can totally second that. If you genuinely didn't steal somebody's work, then you can defend yourself, viciously. Like, this is mine. I didn't know. What are you talking about? I made this. And if you are copying someone's work and you're not crediting them, then you're kind of a jerk. You're kind of a jerk because you know better. But yeah, sometimes you might credit them and they might say, I'm not cool with that. Take it down still. That wasn't enough. Has that ever happened to you, Steph?
No, that's never happened to me. What would you do in that situation?
It was awkward, but my girlfriend, she put an artwork out that was inspired by another artist, like their
Right.
style.
Right.
and they freaked out. They sent her some really aggressive messages in the DMs saying, "You need to take that down. This is unacceptable. You copied my work." And even though it wasn't a copy, like it wasn't a trace, it was like stylistically similar. She, just to kind of end the frustration, she took the artwork down, which she was bummed about because she liked the style. She put it out there to the world to show other people. And she even credited the artist. She was like, "I
Hmm.
got inspiration from so and so," and
Yeah.
that artist was like, "No,
Was she making money
take it
from it?
down." No, my girlfriend was not selling it. It was just an artwork that she thought. So she probably didn't have to take it down. Now that I'm saying
She
it
did
out
not.
loud.
She did not. She did the right thing. Your girlfriend did the right thing. She credited, it's not like she was stealing or like make profiting off this idea. So I
Hmm.
just think it might have come down that the artist was protective over their work. Unless the artists have copyrighted a certain thing, like
Oh, true.
we are all inspired by each other. There are definitely artists who do similar things to each other, so it's hard to claim things that are yours.
Like a
So
style. I mean,
yeah,
I'm. I know AI is getting in the way of that. Have you seen any of the style GANs?
no, I have not.
Or are you familiar with style GAN? That
Nope.
term? Oh, this is. I guess this is the space to share this. Look out for style GANs. It's an AI that is a neural network that can mimic styles of artwork pretty
Oh,
well. So if you give it a bunch of art that is in a style, it can look at that and get the correlations of what shapes and should be that style. Then you can ask it to, you can give it a new image and say, make this image in that style. Photoshop, the latest version of Photoshop now has a style GAN added to it.
wow.
It's called neural filters. They added it to Photoshop 2021. So you can train. It's been trained on looks, and you can take in an image, let's say from Van Gogh. It's been trained on Van Gogh images. You can give it a new image, a new photograph. You take in a new illustration you made, a new sketch, a new 3D render that you've made, and then
Yeah.
say, "Cool, I want you to interpret this as a Van Gogh." And then you hit enter, and then it creates new pixels that look like, "Oh, Van Gogh painted that."
That's actually quite
But
funny
yeah.
because that is the creative process. You get influences from everywhere, you get inspirations from everywhere, and the way you make it unique
Mhm.
is just like combining all of it. And then that is how you create your own type of work from your perspective. So it's funny how they've computerized that.
Yeah, it's gonna be keeping that's gonna keep happening. More and more of that creative process. So, we got to learn these tools. We have to be never stop learning. Keep learning the tools of being an artist so that we can adapt and whatnot. So, a couple more questions I have for you here. One
Yeah.
was, are there any projects that you have coming up that you would like to let the world know about? Have put on their radar, something that you're working on.
Yes, I do. I'm working on a drop for Known Origin, so it's a crypto art project that I will be dropping in about a month's time. So look out for that. It'll be exciting. I can't wait for it to come out.
Yay! I love known. I just started using known origin. I like it. And what's your feels with known origin?
I actually went on a community call about 2 days ago. They're really, really lovely people
Oh,
to talk to. Yeah, they have community calls and they've been updating features to help artists basically portray their work or show their work in the best light. And they're always there to support artists. And they've even talked about the environmental concern that has been trending lately about crypto art and the emissions that come out of the transactions of crypto art. So, they it's nice to know that they're real people, first of all, and second of all, that they actually care about the artist's well-being and that they're not just money grabbers. So they're actually like just being from on that
fantastic.
call, you could see what their intentions are and what values they uphold for for that platform.
And do you agree with the values that you've experienced from seeing their way they communicate?
Yes, yes, I think
Awesome.
they're quite down to earth, and yeah, I agree.
That's some good advice then. Yeah. So for those of you that are looking for crypto art, I know like Nifty Gateway is pretty popular right now, and Super Rare is really popular. There's also Known Origin. There's Rareable. There's OpenSea. There's Async.art. There's so many marketplaces. So if you're trying to apply to one and you're not getting a call back right away because they're getting busy, apply to another one. There's so many different marketplaces. And then another question I was going to have for you is, where can people find your amazing work?
Oh, everywhere. I'm everywhere on social media now. Like during lockdown, I've literally just like gone on a social media opening, like I've opened channels on every social media. So you can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Twitter, you can find me on TikTok, you can find me on YouTube, Twitch, Pinterest, like every single avenue there is. Just my handle is at Stephy Fung, and you'll be able to find me.
Amazing. Do you have time to answer a few more questions from the comments?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, great. So we got a question from Made by KP. Says, off the dome, can you recommend any good / beginner / intermediate YouTube tutorials to focus on for Cinema 4D or Blender?
Yes, I do. I actually compiled a list specifically on 3D Wizards, my Discord community, because I know I received a lot of messages like that. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to compile this list, put it into my Discord community, and anybody who asks me that question, I can direct them to there and they can start learning with a list that's actually quite useful for beginners.
That's perfect. That's perfect. So Made by KP, please join the 3D Wizards community that Steph started, and look for that. Is it like is it a channel that they can follow and then they would see it?
So it's in the resources channel.
Okay, cool. Perfect. So that answers that question. Thank you. We got a question from Everywhere Vlog. Says, one time I went to an event and filmed better shots than they did the next day. They freaked out and kindly asked me to take my footage down. Oh, wow. So you filmed an event that was better than the event's videography. That's kind of like really flattering, actually. They're like threatened by your work. Yeah,
wow.
that's frustrating though that they're like,
you shouldn't have had to take it down. It could have just been for personal use. I don't see, or you could have said you've been practicing your videography. Feel sorry for you.
Yeah,
but
I'm sorry about that.
They missed out. They missed out, not you. So, you know, take that skill and showcase it to people who will actually value you and actually care about your work.
Agreed. Heck yes. Thank you. We got another question from Starving Artists. Someone says Don's IGTV video tutorial. Oh yeah, I put a lot of tutorials up on IGTV, so those are also great if you want to learn a lot of those 3D tools. People are recommending Punisher. Yes, Punisher has a lot of good tutorials on YouTube. They spell it PWNISHER. They have a lot of good Cinema 4D and Unreal Engine tutorials. Okay, we've got a couple more questions here. It's a long question. Do you guys, so this is from Pugmat Convento, says, do you guys hate international dates? Like if you have to write it backwards or forwards, an example, 12/6/19 is an international date.
12/6/19. So is 12 the day and 6 the month and 19 is the year? Is that what they're saying?
Yes, I think that's what Pug is saying.
See, in the UK, that's how we write it.
Oh, nice.
That's how we write it in general. So we would write the day, the month, and the year. That's how we write our dates over here.
Oh, cool. I mean, it actually kind of makes more sense than what we're doing here in the US, where it's like, oddly, we're putting the month first and then the day. Like, as I'm saying out loud, that's kind of silly that we do it that way, because it's like, it should be from specific to, or from narrow to broad, not like,
yeah.
So hopefully that answers your question.
Even in Chinese, though, we would say the year, the month, and then the day. So we would say it in Chinese backwards.
Oh, wow. Year, month, day. Oh, wow. That's cool. I feel like it's like priorities. It's like cultural priorities. Like, like the first one, I feel like it's more important. Is the year more important, or is the month more important, or is the day more important? We're gonna put that first and how it's
Exactly.
written.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right, got another question from Everywhere Vlog says, which of these discussed platforms can work well with VR mapping and projection?
As in which 3D program?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I think
mapping
that's how
and
I was
projection.
interpreting it.
Uh, you can pretty much do that in most of them, I would say. I'm sure if you definitely want to do VR stuff, then of course use a games engine like Unity or Unreal. They're probably best suited for stuff like that. But if you're using projection mapping, you can do that with Cinema 4D. Assume you can do it with Blender and Maya and so on. So, like I said, 3D, the skills and usually the techniques are very transferable onto different platforms.
100%. Yeah, I think you'll, if you want to make your assets in Blender and then bring them into Unreal Engine, that might be a really fun way to do some, you know, projection mapping in 360 videos. I think that might be a great pipeline for you. And it's free. That's a free pipeline, Blender and
Exactly.
Unreal Engine, which is
Best
so
of both
cool. Like we're in a
worlds.
time, isn't that wild? Like we're in a time where that's a free pipeline. What? What are we talking about? That's absurd. This is not like this is special. We got another question. Actually, no, I think those are it for the main questions. Um, Steph, do you have any questions for the community that you want to ask them? You know, or not?
Mm, I guess for me, if for people who want to learn 3D, why do you want to learn 3D? I guess because the 3D industry is actually quite young still, I would say. Even the motion design industry, still quite young, still quite very like young. So like, yeah, what would be your motivations for getting into 3D? And also, it's important to identify that so that you know why you're doing 3D, for example.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is some salt. That's a very good question for the room. So, why are you interested in 3D? You know, like, yeah, if you feel comfortable sharing that, if you want to just say, hi, I'm interested in 3D because blank, that would be super cool to see, you know, while we think about it. Oh, we got some questions from
Can I
X
just say
Nestros.
something?
Sure.
So the reason why I asked that question is I actually that's the same question that I asked people who join 3D Wizards. So when you have to introduce yourself on my Discord community and you have to say why you do 3D and seeing the reasons is so fascinating and it's so broad. So you get examples like, oh, I want to meet new people and um, basically make friends, or people just want to improve their skills, or they want to learn something new. So it's just really fascinating to see what people's motivations are. And there's no right or wrong, no right or wrong answer.
What if they're like, I want to learn 3D to take over the world for evil ways?
They'll get kicked out. uh, I don't
Awesome.
endorse evil thinking. So like, yeah.
Yeah, to that end, I was reading your rules on your 3D wizards, and I freaking totally like appreciate and love the rules that you set up for what is the community. Um, I was just like, thank goodness you included a line in there about how this is not a space to talk about how to pirate software and cracks and I'm like, thank you, like because like that usually might happen. You know, we're not trying to get us, you know, ourselves in trouble. We're just trying to like teach, make this a really good educational tool and, you know, connect with people. So your rules were so inclusive and so friendly, and it's just like it was more reasons why I really wanted to introduce you to the audience that I have here, because it's like I feel like folks like yourself need to be the ones that people know about in the 3D community, because it's like you're doing really awesome artwork, but you're also going about it in such a positive, like informative and helpful and productive way. So yeah.
Yes. I'm just going to shout out there's this, so the way you talked about me, there's this person that I feel the same way, who's doing positive things. She's such a bundle of joy. She has this course for Cinema 4D and it's called 3D for Designers, I think. So it's for people who are like come from a graphic designer background. But her name's Devon Coe. And she's just so positive, and I love the positivity that she's bringing to the 3D industry, and of course being a female as well, representing that kind of point of view. So yeah, you guys, if you guys are interested in learning 3D or Cinema 4D specifically, she has a course called 3D for Designers.
Where is that course? Is it like on a particular site?
So if you search 3d4designers.com, it will lead you straight there.
3d4designers.com.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. See, this is so cool. Look at this community.
Oh, it might be Cinema 4D for Designers. Cinema 4, yeah, because it's Cinema 4D course. I retract my statement. Oh. Cinema 4D for Designers.com. It'll be that.
Cinema 4D for Designers.com.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Looks like we had a few more questions coming in here. I just want to make sure I'm respectful of your time, Steph. Do you have a few more minutes, or maybe like 5 more minutes?
Yeah, I've got 5 more minutes.
Okay, great. So yeah, there's a question that we have here from Robert. Robert Buchanan says, the 3D learning curve feels steep. How long did it take for you to feel proficient?
It is very steep compared to 2D, because you have to understand modeling, you have to understand animating, lighting, texturing, rendering. You have to understand also the 3D jargon and the terms that me and Don and Alan is talking about, which we know, but of course you guys might not know. So yes, I agree, it is very steep, but you will learn it within time. The more you practice, the better you would get. For me, it took around a year to feel comfortable within Cinema 4D. So it does take time. You're not going to become a 3D master within a day or a week. It's literally just consistent practice. So make sure each week you're practicing, and make sure each week you're learning something new. And you'll get, like, within a year's time, you're going to be much better than you were a year ago.
Truth. And yeah, I'm someone who likes to put little numbers to things. So if you do 30 hours learning, I think you'll be proficient. Like, if you want a specific number, Robert, like if you did 30 hours learning Blender, and you disperse those 30 hours over like a week, over a couple weeks, that's a lot of time.
You don't sleep. You just 30 hours, one course.
No sleep, don't eat food. You just 30 hours binge, consume, and create, and you'll pass out and you'll know all of Blender in a heartbeat. It's just going to be, but yeah, I think take the 30 hours and disperse it. And you can map it out. Like on a calendar, just divide 30 by how many weeks you want to do it. So now you know how many hours you need to put to it a week, and then divide that through your day. How many minutes a day should you put towards 30 hours? And I guarantee if you put 30 hours of love, focus, intention, heart, energy into learning a skill, you're going to be proficient at it. It's just, how can you not? It's a lot of time.
Yeah, 100%.
We got another question from I'm having trouble pronouncing names. Mia Carlula says, would you want to mix a passion with 3D like dance?
100%. Yes. It will make it more fun for you. And so, for example, funny that you mentioned dance. I enjoy dancing as well, actually. That's one of my hobbies. And for example, when I was back at university, they said we could have an open brief, which meant we could choose our own brief. So I decided that, you know what, I'm going to combine my 3D skills, going to combine my typography skills, going to combine my dance knowledge. So I did that with a project, and I made 3D typography based off dance terms. And that was just a super fun project to do. So yes, use your passions, and that will make your project stand out, especially when you speak about it. You're already passionate about that subject, and you know, and that will come across to other people as well, that, you know, you love what you do.
Wow, that's some solid advice, and great question, by the way. Let me repeat that question for those of you that didn't hear that. It says, would you want to mix a passion with 3D? And yes. yes, you want to do that. That should be the formula. if you do that, then the learning isn't, then 30 hours towards learning something isn't like dreadful or boring or frustrating. It's like, this is 30 hours that you're going to be putting towards your passion. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You'll be addicted to it. And it's a positive thing to be addicted to.
That's also why I enjoy my personal work so much. So everything you see on Instagram is my personal work, which includes my passion. Currently, my passion is showcasing my Chinese culture. So that's what I'm into right now. And yeah, it just makes my work a lot more fun, a lot more personal. And yeah, I love it. It's fun.
It's so cool. Like, please, everyone, take a moment after this call, this session, and please check out Steph's Instagram. It's really, really inspiring. Like, if you look at the work, it's just so freaking cool. So I do want everyone here to do that. To that end, we got a question from X Nestro. Says, how do you find client work?
It varies. Can I just grab a book? I need to show a book.
Oh, sure, of course. Yeah. While Steph is grabbing a book, I'll say what I do. It also varies. Usually for me, finding client work, a lot of it's through Instagram right now. So that's where a lot of my clients come through. It's part of the reason why I love doing a lot of the content creation and putting my personal projects, and if I get permission, parts of the paid projects, I put them on Instagram because that's kind of like the living, breathing portfolio. It adds to trust, for the client who sees you doing this regularly. They're like, oh, you can do this. I saw you do it yesterday and last week and, last month. But I would love to hear your thoughts. You grabbed a book, I think.
Yes. For anybody who wants to become freelancer and is into 3D or motion designer, this is the Freelance Manifesto by Joey Corriman.
So take a screenshot of this book here.
He runs the School of Motion. But
okay, hopefully they got a good screenshot. It's backwards for me, but what does it say?
The Freelance Manifesto by Joey Corriman. So the reason why I endorsed this book is actually got useful tips inside of it. I hate reading books that has no substance and has no tips that I can apply to my life. Now, so for client work, he describes it as having paying jobs and rainbow jobs. So like the yay jobs and the boo jobs. So the jobs that can be quite boring and quite creatively soul-sucking, they usually pay the most, unfortunately. And for the ones the projects that are more fun, they usually pay less. I know it's a weird difference between the two. So as a freelancer, or for people who are interested, you have to decide yourself how much percentage you're going to take of both. So I've experienced, of course, both sides. Some client projects can be very dry, but you know what? It's okay because it will allow you to experiment and have some time to do personal work, for example. So there's people who take paying jobs all the time, and that's what they do because it pays the most. They got more time to themselves throughout the year to do other things. And there's some people who just take the rainbow jobs because they cannot deal with the paying job. So yeah, it's totally up to you. I would agree with Don Allen. I get most of my freelance work from my Instagram, which is why I post on there. And people will only contact you for things that they see and that they know you can do. So if you want to, for example, if you want to do a sneaker, a trainer advert, you need to make sure in your portfolio or on your Instagram, you can show that you can do that type of work. So that's what I've learned.
So important.
Pretty much.
That's so important. And I love that comparison of like the rainbow jobs and like the soul sucking jobs. And kind of, it's a percentage of both that you'll need to take to. The rainbow jobs maintain your mental health. Without those, you'll lose your mind. And then the soul sucking jobs, they suck, but they pay and help you afford time to do the rainbow job. So it's kind of like you got to do both. But I got to just second for emphasis how important it is to put out. They need to see that you're doing this kind of work, because some people have a myth that might have been more applicable in the mid 2000s, where they're like, I'm not going to show my work. Someone's going to copy my ideas and I don't want to put my work out there because no, like, you know, I should get paid for my work. I'm not going to do free stuff. I'm not. And like, I get so worried for those folks that are trying to pursue freelance full time, because it's like, how are they going to know what you can do if you're scared to share anything that you do because you think they're going to take it? They don't know that you do this awesome thing that you do. And, you know, so, you know, do you have any comments on that, Steph?
Yeah, that's 100% why I share my process and why I share my work, so that people can see what I do. And currently, like, for example, I've been learning 3D garment making for about 5 months. Prior to that, I got nobody asking me to make 3D garments for them. Nobody. I started learning, I started posting. Now I got people in my DM saying, "Hey Steph, can you do this for my clothing line? Can you create it in 3D?" So it does make a difference. You just
It's a
gotta
great example.
share it. Like, don't be scared, and don't be scared about people copying your work, because your work will always be your own. People interpret things differently. And what we talked about before about crediting and, you know, how people are inspired by other people. So if they copy your work, if they credit you, it's all chill, it's all fine. But usually most people bounce their ideas and are inspired by people. So yeah, ideas may be similar, but it can't ever replace what you've made, because everyone's unique.
Yeah, it's true though. It's a good example. Oh, illustrious Boris has a question for you, Steph. Says, Steph, after how long practice in Cinema 4D did you start to work for clients?
Yes, yes, yes. So I started learning in, I'm looking at the date, 2017. I started in 2017, took a whole year just learning, no client projects, just learning the foundations, learning the basics. And then within my third year of university, I actually had an internship year. And that internship year was a year for me to actually go into industry. It was freaking scary because I had huge imposter syndrome, but people saw my portfolio and they saw my university work where I utilized my Cinema 4D skills. So they could see that I could do it, and they hired me based on that. And then, so from that year, I realized that, oh, I can, like, people are hiring me. Like, people are taking me on for this type of work. So as long as they see it, and as long as, of course, it's good quality, and, you know, what you do is will fulfill the job's need, then people will reach out to you.
So true. And so I guess, I mean, so essentially, I guess the question was about how long from, I know no Cinema 4D, I'm practicing, so it sounds like for about a year, and then a year of internships. Okay.
So let's say a year to 2 years before I got the confidence to just, you know, doing client work.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's a great measurement, a baseline for folks that are here. They're like, okay, can I dedicate a year? And maybe you can do a soul-sucking job while you're learning that year worth of getting ready for Cinema 4D clients and 3D work. You know, there's levels to this. You don't have to just get the dream job right away, and then, you know, you can build up to it, and it makes it something really worthwhile when you earn it at the end.
And that's something I agree with. I think for people who want to jump into 3D, but they're currently stuck in a different medium where, like, they don't know, they're not doing 3D as their day job, don't wait for that opportunity to come. Make that opportunity work for you. You have to work for it, you know, because as we discussed before, 3D is not something you can just learn and be a master at in a day or a week. You have to work for it. And once you know the basics and the foundations, it's very easy to understand and applicable for different platforms.
Everywhere Vlog says, I love the feeling of accomplishment. And Mikarlu puts heart face emojis. I think people are feeling really good about the words that we're sharing here. We got a question from Ali Bostaz 7 says, how much money does graphic designers get in the UK?
I feel like we get paid less than the US because your taxes are higher. Oh. So you guys get paid more actually, but your taxes are higher. So you know, it makes up for that difference. So I would say roughly if you're thinking about a junior graphic designer, you're looking around here. I'm estimating about 22 to 25K, but then our tax here is a lot lower.
Is that in euros?
That's in pounds. Is in pounds,
Oh,
which
in pounds. Sorry.
is pretty much the same as euros now. It's like one to one.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, one comment I want to make to that too is when I was 15 is when I first started doing design work illegally, and how I did it was I found out that you can make a PayPal account. So I made a PayPal account and I created a website where I pretended to be a whole graphic design studio, and it was really just me in my dad's basement working. I was learning Photoshop, and so just to kind of date myself here, I learned Photoshop by being paid by strangers to edit their MySpace photos, which
That's
is an
great.
old social media app. Yeah, I was editing their MySpace photos, and the website looked like it was a whole graphic design studio with like a big team. No, it was just me in the garage. I'm like, all right, you're gonna send me your photo. I'm gonna edit it. A lot of people wanted they had people they broke up with, so they wanted me to like remove their ex out of their profile photo. It was hilarious. But I bring it up because if you're like in a region where maybe the income for a 3D work is not that high, we have the internet and we have aliases. So you can like set up an alias, like a company, or you can set up an alias like a collective that can do work for people that aren't in your local region. You can do work for folks in the UK. You can do work for folks in India. You can do work for people in Russia. And, there's different payments and different taxation rates, but you don't have to feel physically constrained. We're an internet day. Look at this. Steph's in London right now. I'm in the US. Yet we're here right now in this same call. This is literally, if this happened like 10 years ago, this would have been like absurd. Like,
Yeah.
how? What's this magic? What's this sorcery? Now it's just like normal. Like, oh, it's just a live stream, So that's kind of how I feel. Like you can make your, someone says, fake it till you make it. Love it. Yeah. Yeah. To some degree, like when you're just starting, you don't have the years of experience, but you do have to start somehow. Everyone has to start somehow.
Yeah. I do want to say for people who wants to get into the industry, for example, networking is super important. So currently it's kind of impossible to network in person right now because of COVID-19, but I would recommend people to network online using social media. So if you guys really want to get into the industry, follow people who are in the industry. And the thing that I dislike about people who reach out to me, for example, is when they send messages with no soul. They're like, "Hey, Steph, can you help me with something?" And I'm like, I don't know you. I'm not quite sure. Like, how can I help you? It just feels a bit like if you want to connect with people, please connect with genuinely. Because that's what social media is about. And people think it's very hard to connect with people in industry. It's not at all. Just send to people, if you like a work, comment on it. Say, I really like the texture that you put on that. Like, how did you do that? You will realize that people who post these amazing work on social media are just humans on the other side of the screen. So just talk to them like that as well. Don't expect them to help you without building that relationship first. You gotta build a relationship first. It's just like how it works in real life. You won't go up to a stranger and be like, "Hey, can you help me with something? Can you tell me how to do this?" So yeah, that's what I would recommend.
That's an awesome piece of advice for those that are here. Just to repeat it, you got to build relationships with people virtually if you want to work with them or network with them. One strategy I've utilized, and it does work pretty well. I learned it from Gary Vee. He's more abrasive with how he does his communication. So I like to be kind of like him, but with a more focus on mental health and balance. But one of his things is he calls it the jab, 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 right hook model. And what this weird phrasing stands for is the jabs. He refers it to boxing. So if you're in a boxing match, you have to throw little jabs before you try to do a really hard right hook swing. These jabs are small. So he uses it as a metaphor, and the jabs are the gives. So he says when you engage with people online, you want to be in a situation where you're giving, giving, giving more than just asking. The right hook is an ask. So for the people that I immediately turn down in the DMs is when we have no relationship and they come in with just like a right hook and they're just like, yo, let's collab. Can you do all this work for me for free? And it's like the first thing they've ever said to me. And I'm just like, no, you hit me with the right hook. I was really expecting and hoping for jabs. And I'm even kind enough where I'll send them a video on how to use the jab, 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 right hook model.
Oh,
They hate
wow.
that.
That's
Well, because like,
great.
I mean, they hate it in the moment. It's like, wait, you won't work with me? I'm like, no, but follow this model for the next person and it will work. If you go with the jab, it's a slower way. It's not instant gratification. It requires work. It requires being genuine, but it does work. It does work if they do it. And, you know, that's if I'm in a good mood, which is almost all the time. So mostly I'm in a good mood. I'm going to let them know, like, you can use this model somewhere else. But if you're going to just throw right hooks or just keep throwing right hooks, you know, there's some people I'll just ignore entirely in the DMs where every comment for like last few months is just another ask. And it's just like, this is a taking relationship. I'm not about that. And so, yeah. Oh, someone had a question for you, Steph. Says, where do I start creating 3D? I'm a basic 2D designer, been out of school for about 4 years, and I want to start somewhere. This is from JCRD 1990. Where do I start creating 3D? I'm a basic 2D designer.
Yeah, it's good that you have a 2D background, actually. That's super helpful. And I'm going to direct it back to my 3D Wizards Discord community, of course. Lots of people in your position, actually, who are beginners or want to get into 3D. So if you join 3D Discord community, we've also got resources, channels for like Blender, Maya. We've got it for Cinema 4D. We've got it Houdini. We've got it for Unreal. So like lots of resources and free resources that you can get into. And I recommend for you is probably get into Blender, but it also depends on the reason why you want to do 3D. So for people who want to do motion design, I actually recommend Cinema 4D. But for people who just want to do things like VFX, then I recommend Blender or Maya, for example.
That's amazing advice right there. Sorry, someone's saying, why don't you read my questions, sir, with a bunch of frowny faces? I must not be seeing them. Says Ali, this is Ali Bostaz 7. You said, from what I've read, you haven't asked questions. You say, you can watch tutorials, I guess. And you wrote, why don't you read my questions? So I don't see your questions. Yeah, I don't see the questions. Oh, there is a question. My apologies. I found one. He says, I think that I can be able to do 3D design and other types of design things like UX and UI. Should I go graphic design college or question mark? So I think they're asking if they should go to school for graphic design.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? That's a touchy topic for a lot of folks right now.
No, I have a strong opinion on that, actually. I went to university. So I studied graphic design, actually. Studied it for 5 years because I had an internship year, like a sandwich year. So I was at university for 5 years. I did a foundation year as well. So I was at university for, half a decade. That's a long time. I did not learn 3D at university. What I did learn at university is graphic design principles. So if you want to get a solid foundation on that, university can be helpful for that, but there are actually so many online courses which does the same thing for less the price. So things like School of Motion, things like Grayscale Gorilla, I think, who else does design? Like The Future on YouTube, great channel for design principles. So if you guys want to learn like design principles, there's lots of free online resources online. The thing about getting a bachelor, a university degree, it is important if you want to work in a different country or if you want to work in a corporate company, because they tend to look at CVs and degrees, and that's super important in their world. I have personally not really come across a need to show my my degree to anyone for my job. The creative industry is very based on your portfolio and, of course, what you show online. So it's not necessary, but it depends on what you want to work in the future, for sure. I personally don't think, after going to university myself, I don't think it's necessary to go to college or university.
Wow, I'm so excited to hear this, and I haven't heard enough people share that as well. So I'm right there with you on that reasoning. We'd see the same thing at DreamWorks. You know, like the myth that you need a degree to work at a studio is even that. It's a myth. You know, it's not entirely accurate. What we would look at mostly was like portfolios. Like, what work have you done? Is it awesome? Is it work for what we need? And if it does, come on in, you know, we need you. And then, because like even when I worked there, like I don't think I had to show them like my GPA. I didn't have to show them like, I don't even think I showed my degree to them. They're just like, oh, we see that you teach the stuff, and we need a trainer. So come on in. You know, so it's just like that myth worked really well for a long time, mostly out of the Industrial Revolution. It was a very like a degree actually worked really well for a lot of our history. It's just that in the recent years, what it doesn't work well for is this data age that we're in, the information age, the technology age, where you can't just learn everything in school and think that you got all the skills you need for creative industries. In fact, like you don't, because the tools change every week now. Every week the tools change. So it's like you can't just amass all the 3D knowledge that you need for all the tools forever and then expect to work in a modern studio. Even small studios or big studios, this would still be a problem. They all have like, the best ones have ongoing learning, ongoing training for their employees, because they realize that you're not going to come in from school with the skill set that you need right off the bat. But the principles, like you're saying, for like Steph, you suggested, the principles are awesome and such a good use for school. The other reason why I might still suggest school for folks is maybe you do need discipline. Like you need a teacher, a professor to hold you accountable to something. Maybe that's like, but I kind of believe if you don't need that, like if you have a lot of drive in yourself and you can follow through on your goals, you set achievable goals, you follow the steps to get them. I don't know if you totally need it. You know, it's hard to say because I have a lot of family and friends that are in schools right now. I know they might see this, so I'm sorry that you're hearing this from me, but I'm being honest. It's like times are different now with regards to creative industries.
Yeah, 100%.
So Steph, there's a lot of folks here. Do you have I do kind of have to run pretty soon.
Yeah.
Do you have, again, any place that people can meet you, or about the wizards, 3D wizards?
Yes, so for anybody who wants to join the lovely community that I've created for 3D, or you want to meet new people who are also learning 3D, come to 3D Wizards Discord community. The link is in my bio if you click on my Instagram profile. And I guess for my work, of course, find me on Instagram, on Twitter. I'm pretty much everywhere, like on TikTok and YouTube as well. My handle is @StephyFung. And yeah, thank you for having me, really. Like, this was a really good talk. I really enjoyed it.
Yay. Thank you so much for joining, Steph. And it's been a pleasure to meet you virtually. I'll be definitely looking at all your work, and I would love to have you on here again sometime.
Sounds great. Let's do it.
All right. Have a wonderful evening, right?
Yes, that's right. It's Friday evening over here.
Nice. Have a wonderful Friday evening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oops. Thank you all so much for joining this wonderful conversation with Steph. Hopefully you learned a lot about the 3D industry. Definitely check out the community that Steph started. It's 3D Wizards. It's a Discord community. It seems like a very productive and very positive and very safe environment for folks that are interested in 3D. And please look at Steph's work. If you see any of their work, you'll immediately see why they're super dope. It's like, oh my goodness. So you should definitely take a look at Steph's work. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, this is part of a podcast. So this is so I'm starting season 2 of the Rethink Reality podcast. I'm going to try to do more of these live streams and then recording the audio. I have the audio recorded right here the whole time. And in these streams, the goal is to try to, interview more folks that are helping prepare people for the XR revolution. So I think being a 3D generalist and having a pretty positive mindset, a freelance entrepreneurial mindset when it comes to 3D is going to be a very useful tool for us to be prepared for all the changes with AI and AR and VR and 3D and visual effects and real time and CGI and modeling, all of that stuff coming together. So thank you all so much for being here. I'm going to save this live stream here so it's available. And then pretty soon, probably in the next couple of days, I'll upload this as onto Spotify, onto Google Podcasts, and onto Apple Podcasts under the Rethink Reality podcast. So thank you all so much. I'm going to go get some breakfast. I have a meeting in a few minutes, so I got to run, but have a good day. And as always, have a creative and productive day. Bye-bye, everybody.